Dave Lopshire here with the Guaranteed Rate Companies, and we're very excited that you have chosen to join us again. This is our third in a series of live webinars where we are featuring the top agents from across the country talking about how we do business and how you can use some of the things that they've done in their long careers to get where they are and put those into practice into your business and how you can help grow your real estate career. So we're excited today to have Julie Vanderblue with us. Now, Julie is the CEO of the Vanderblue team, and she's also the president of the Higgins Group, which is a Christie's affiliate in the Connecticut area. And Julie, I love this tagline, the Connecticut Real Estate Redefined. So welcome to Gateless Live. We're glad you're here.
Thanks so much. It's an honor to be here. I'm excited to get started.
All right, cool. So let's get into some numbers. You're top 1% in the nation, and the reason that you got there is 150 million in annual sales. And so, for those that don't know the Connecticut market very much, what are we talking about as far as numbers go? What are we talking about as far as average home sales? What kind of business are you in? Kind of give me a little overview of your approach to business in owning the Connecticut market.
Okay, so Connecticut has a very diverse market. We've got Fairfield County, we've got Greenwich all the way to Bridgeport. So what I think makes our team unique is we've got $20 million properties and $150,000 condos. So really we cater to every need, from the high-end luxury to rentals, to high-end rentals, to condos. So the statistics are a little misleading. If you're a Greenwich agent, 150 million is, and that's all you're focusing on. There's $25 million property, so you don't have to sell too much to get there. But when you're covering such a vast territory with a team that covers so much, we did about 140 transactions last year. Actually probably more than that. I should know that statistic in my head, but about 50 million.
Right.
But it's a very diverse market, and what I think makes our team unique is, I remember when I first got in the business, I rose to the top pretty quickly. This was 20 years ago, and there wasn't a lot of creative marketing going on.
Right.
So my background's marketing. I'm an entrepreneur. I had a couple businesses before, one in college and one after. So I brought a new element of creativity to the industry when I came. So rising that quickly, I'd like to think, is because I'm so brilliant, but the bar was kind of low back then. So I remember being one of the top producers at top agency my second or third year, and a renter came in, young couple, and I was already the top producer at this company, and they were treated very poorly when they first walked in they were just like, you could see the duty desk agent rolling their eyes like, oh, well, you should check Craigslist, and she just basically handed her some MLS sheets and basically said she didn't really want to work with them. So I said, do you mind if I take them? And she was shocked. She's like, Julie, you have time for this? And I took them into the office, and I vowed to myself that day that no matter how successful I became, I would never let money get in the way of the way I treat. If it was a $10 million buyer versus a $150,000 buyer, they should get the same experience, maybe a different level of marketing expense, and obviously you can't spend the same dollars for those clients, but as far as consumer centricity and treating them the same, that's what I've always believed. So the diversity, that's my point, is we cover from Bridgeport to Greenwich with the same dedication to excellence.
And one of the things I love about where you are is that those properties that are inland on the bays, they're so beautiful, those big grandiose homes, and all the historical properties that are there. But to your point, you can drive around two corners and see this beautiful condo community. It's just such a really cool marketplace. Really like that. But you guys probably heard why Julie is on here today, because she is the master marketer, and I want to get into that. So the thing that we talked about when we brought Julie in is we're going to talk about making marketing, using that to stand out above everybody else, and that's what you've become so good about. So one of the things that we talked about with your really different approach to your marketplace is the fact that you do a really, really in-depth analysis for every client, whether they're on the buy side, sell side. Let's get into what you call the SWOT analysis.
Okay, yes, the SWOT analysis is, that's a common term in marketing and in business, and I didn't see a lot of it going on when I first entered the industry. So when I got into this because my husband's a builder. I was in marketing, worked for Gannett. I was a business strategist, and I did not see any creativity or strategic approach to the marketing, or lack of marketing, that was being done for his properties. So my original goal was just to get my license, sell his properties at a higher level, and what happened quickly, because I looked at the target markets and the strengths of the home and the weaknesses of the home and the opportunities it could bring to the buyers, and which buyers would appreciate those opportunities, and how to sell the opportunities, and how to overcome the weaknesses. And we did that through a very unique marketing platform and magazine style marketing tool. And within probably 8 months, I had more listings than I got rid of my other job, and I dove in full force, and became really passionate about it, as far as looking at it with a more strategic approach, which I don't think most realtors are being taught, to have that strategic advantage over the competitors, because they're all focusing on the transaction versus the relationship of and bringing more value versus getting the sale done.
So we talk about all the time. We talk about this all the time. If you're transactional, it's no way to sustain a career. If you're relational, that's what your career is focused on, right? I mean, that's the most important thing that we talk to the salespeople about all the time. If people don't trust you, they won't do business with you. I love the example where you took that person who was being sloughed off, so to speak, and said, here, let me come in and talk to you about that. That's instant trust. That's what people are looking for, right?
Exactly. And just on a side note, that led to 3 very substantial deals down the road. And I didn't do it to gain, but I'm a big believer in, when you give, it comes back to you tenfold. And I give my teammates, every member of the team when they join gets a copy of The Go-Giver. Highly recommend it to anybody. It's a small book, but it's a great book. And it's, whenever I get caught up and stressed out about the crazy, I read it again, and it kind of grounds me. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, that's a great read. And you're right, it's really small. It won't take you long at all to get through it. It's an awesome read. By the way, as we're going through stuff, I know you guys are probably going to have some questions. So use the questions box on the GoToWebinar and type your questions in there. If we don't get to them during this time that we have Julie live, we will get you answers to those questions. She's very graciously agreed to make sure we get everything covered. So if you guys have questions, don't be afraid to use that questions box on the GoToWebinar panel. So one of the other things that you were talking about, and I love this magazine style. So let's get into that. I mean, that's a unique approach. Everybody, with the Zillows and the Trulias and all this online stuff now, you're still using the feature of the magazine, right?
Yes. I mean, it's in print. It's also online. It's the online magazine where you can turn the page and you hear the sound of the page turner. But it's a lifestyle publication. And it's got the little booklet in the caption in the front that says what's inside, and it's got top 10 things you'll miss about living here, the features, the photograph journey. It's got the story of the home. It's got an interview with the owner. It's got Neighbors Know Best, which I did learn from Alan Dalton. So that's about the neighbors. So we include the neighbors we interview the neighbors about what they love, with rates and reviews being so important. Everybody wants to know what others think. So just getting a few testimonials from the neighbors really makes a difference. We've got higher end properties in there that what's happening in the neighborhood is properties that are not necessarily comps, but properties that are higher value. So we show the clients that are looking that don't know that area that they're not the most expensive house in the neighborhood. Then we have just the area features. So we've got a map with 10 to 20 bullet points of where the schools are from the house and how far the train is and the beach so it's really a cohesive informational piece versus just a buy this house piece.
Exactly, and I'm sure you employ the photographers to do it right and make sure that the images are awesome, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, photography and video is the most important thing, right? It's without it shocks me, quite frankly, if anybody doesn't have a photographer, they should get one. You see some of these photos where you can see the car mirror in the picture because they're still in the car taking the front shot. So one piece of advice, just pretend. I always say this: pretend it's your house. When I'm talking to
This is not a good tool to do listings, right?
Well, I use my phone because there's lifestyle. I mean, there's also lifestyle video that we do all the time, that we do snippets of the house. Just about every open house, I'll do a quick live Facebook post. I'll save it, and then we'll post it later, bringing people in. We love to get the owners in. Hi, we're just heading out. And it makes it real. It makes it fun. It makes people watch.
Well, that's what I was going to get into next. Is we'll talk about social media in a moment, because that's big. But you also mentioned video, and now I will change my tune, because this is an awesome tool for when it comes to short snips of video. And by the way, don't shoot like this, shoot like this. But anyway, how are you using video? What are you doing with it in addition to what the things that you just mentioned?
Well, video is. I have a lifestyle. Social media guru who I hired recently, actually, and video is, not just walking through the house. I mean, we have the professional photographers that do the video tour, which is really obviously important. But then we've got the small snippets, almost like teasers of just 30 seconds of a snippet, and then we've got interviews with. We can get into the whole community. I think being part of the community is one of the ways I rose to success so quickly, and being really entrenched in the community and helping support the local businesses, having video of, oh, we love Fairfield, and going to the local, Las Vegas is my favorite coffee shop, and we take video down there, and we'll just put that in our blog as for coffee. So it's not just about the homes, it's about the lifestyle, because homes are not only competing with neighborhoods anymore, they're competing with the whole town. More importantly, they're competing with other towns, and even now they're competing with states. We're losing people to other states. So you've got to get them to fall in love with the lifestyle that we bring, and the best way to do that is through video.
Got it. I love that approach, and so I want to drill down into that a little bit, because we here in Illinois as well have a lot of people that are moving out, but like you, we have a lot of people that are being transferred here, or a lot of people who want to, especially in Connecticut with the beautiful recreation that you guys have there. You have a lot of people that are transitioning from, other places. So, but you also have people that are moving up. So there's got to be different approaches to the marketing, right? How do you distinguish those different things?
Yeah, I mean, it's just more and more videos and target marketing and staying ahead of continuously doing more videos. Video on my website, if you went to Town Profiles, there's a company called Town Advisor, also started by Alan Dalton, actually, and it's 9-minute documentaries, 9 minutes. And a lot of the agents really thought, oh, it's too long, and I embraced it because I'm going to use it appropriately. I'm not going to. I'm going to use it, and I'm not going to Facebook this, watch this, because nobody's going to watch a 9-minute video. But if I meet someone at an open house, I can say, and they're moving here from Westchester or from California or wherever, and they're trying to figure out where to live. Instead of trying to convince them to buy my house, I want to earn their trust.
Yes.
So we're talking about Fairfield, and we're talking about other areas. So if you go to my web, and I'll say, I'd love for you to go to my website and take a look at town profiles. The videos are long. I don't say that to them. I mean, I do say, take the time to watch the videos, because if you're making a change, a lifestyle change of this magnitude, honestly, 9 minutes is not very long. I mean, people, so it really baffled me that so many people didn't understand that it was to be used in a certain way. And they're very educational, and so we always have them, and I use them frequently when appropriate. But the small little teaser ones are the ones that really, like, if we're targeting, we have a very big aging population, so first floor master bedrooms are big, in-law apartments are big. We're networked with, every single senior housing company locally that we network with. We have a senior division, so we really help people through that transition, and that's going to be a specific video to help people understand that. So being short and to the point in those videos to capture their attention, and then having the longer ones to be more educational.
And I got to be transparent, because when you said 9-minute documentary, I thought, oh my gosh, I'll never be able to do that. But that's because I have a sales brain, right? You have a sales brain. We're wired to be going. I got to move on to the next task. But you think about, to your point, the person buying the home, that's a time investment well worth it. I think this is, so those of you out there who just cringed at a 9-minute video, stop it, think about it, and look and think through that, right?
I mean, I'm not going to put a 9-minute video up on Facebook.
No.
Somebody, I'm going to invite them, I'm going to send them the link, or I'll send them to my site. And it's a reason to go to my site. So why would someone come to my site to look at houses? Nobody wants to go to a real estate site to look at houses. There's way too many options. Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, you name it. And I love when people do come to my site, but if I expect them to switch where they're looking, to come to my site to look for homes, I'm fooling myself. But if I have a reason for them to go, and I have something called exclusive sneak preview division, which many people think of as, pocket listings, which is not at all what this is. And I mean, I can get into that now too, if you like.
I was going to ask you about that. Because, I love being controversial. I love pushing the envelope a little bit, because that's what we do here at the Guaranteed Rate Companies. We push the envelope because we want to break the mold and keep going forward. And by the way, thanks for wearing Guaranteed Rate red there today. Anyway, you have a division, and I love this. It's the exclusive sneak preview division, espdivision.com. All right. What is it, and what are you doing with it?
All right, so I'll explain a little bit how it started. My husband's a builder, as I mentioned, and we were living in a beautiful new construction home. So I had no complaints about where I was living. I was riding my bicycle, was not in the market, and I drove down my favorite street, and there was a for sale by owner sign. And it was a dilapidated old home. I got off my bike, and I'm not bold at all to pull a sign out of the ground, walk up to the house. I'm hiding behind it, saying, what's it going to cost me for you to put this in your garage? Because I want your house. I gave her asking price, overpaid, waived everything. My husband's a builder, so I didn't worry about inspection. I waived my mortgage. I really wanted that house.
Right.
And even though I overpaid, I was really happy that I did, because it was my lifestyle. I wanted that house. So the fear of loss, she said she was going to put it on the market next week. Fear of loss kicked in, and I just paid. And I remember that feeling and thinking, wow, how can I create this feeling in other people and buyers for my sellers? And that's when Exclusive Sneak Preview Division was born. It's not that we're trying to sell it ourselves. It's not that it's a pocket listing and we're not telling anybody. It's just a sneak preview before it comes on. With the transparency of the market and everybody knowing everything, and they want to know about things before they hit the market. The buyer's agents feel like they're losing their value because of the transparency of the market, and you figure, your their buyers are finding out about the properties at the same time we are. So by the time we get in touch with them, they've already heard about it. I don't know how many times we've heard, oh, my agent didn't even find my house, I found it myself online. And so the agents, the buyer's agents, feel they're losing their value and they're not able to provide the information quick enough. So this ESP is really, although not in the beginning the brokers really, didn't love it. They thought it was just a ploy. They thought it was just me trying to, oh, another one of Julie's creative, creative options. But then they really saw what the value that it brings, because now they're watching ESP. They're getting their commissions. We're not keeping both sides. And even if I find a buyer, we always go live on MLS. We always make sure that the seller gets full exposure, and we explain, fear of loss can create somebody to pay a premium before it comes live. When we do go live, this is kind of telling about how we do things. Let's say we had a property for $800,000 on ESP, and we got an offer for $775 before we came live, and we went back and forth, and we ended it. And the seller doesn't know if they should take it because they don't want to take any money out of the pocket. They decide $790 is enough. We're going to go with $790. And then I have to explain to the other side, we're coming on the market. They're not happy about it. The buyer just said, well, the whole reason I'm doing this is because I want to avoid that. I explained that I have to represent the seller. It's my fiduciary responsibility to protect the seller. So we do accept your offer. He understands that he risks taking money out of his pocket, but he appreciates that you're coming to the table. We're signing the binder. We're putting it on MLS. We are explaining to the other buyers that they will be backup offers. So we are only accepting backup offers. Now this does a lot strategically for my seller, because when inspections come, they don't know if we have a backup offer or not.
That's right.
And instead of putting it on for $790, which most agents would do, because they want their list to sale price ratio to be as high as possible, so they would put it on for $790. Sometimes we even go higher, $810, $820, because if we do get a backup offer and we accepted an offer so quickly, chances are good we would have accepted full price, right? Or we wouldn't have taken it that quickly. So our backup offers are often higher than our ESP accepted offers, because they know they have to beat that offer in front of them. When inspection comes, and they always ask for something, we have the option. So if they're afraid that they're going to lose it, they're not going to ask for anything. If they do need to ask for things because they're major, we have the option. So we can either stick with them and say, we're not going to do anything. We can stick with and keep it as is. We can stick with them and say, listen, we appreciate the offer that you brought in, but we got an offer for $20,000 more. And since you've opened the door renegotiating, we're going to let you match that offer if you want to keep this house. But once they start renegotiating, the ball is back in our court, and we can go back and ask for more money. Or we can just say, thanks for playing, we're going with our higher offer. So it really affords my client much more options in a very strategic but ethical and honorable way.
Right. And with the way the market is right now, especially inventory issues and all that stuff going on, this is such a great protection. I mean, I think this is a great strategy. ESPdivision.com. And you don't mind people going and checking that out, do you?
No. I mean, I think it's such a good tool for So on the site, it says the benefits to the buyers, the sellers, and the agents. Benefits to the buyers is everybody wants to know about things before they hit the market. That's a no-brainer. The benefits to the seller is if they're not quite ready to put their house on the market because they're still looking, that's another thing. You go to an open house,
right,
and they're not sure if they want to buy. They want to find a house before they sell. So if they there's a clog in that system, because if they find a house before they sell, most sellers don't want to take a Hubbard anymore, or they just a Hubbard clause. So now they're in a sticky situation. They don't know, they're afraid to sell before they buy, so this gives them the opportunity to really try out the market, test the market, get real feedback from real buyers. It's kind of, we call it going off Broadway before we go on Broadway. And then we launch, plus we'll get real feedback from agents and buyers. And any of the feedback we get, we can take care of it. If we hear enough times, paint that dining room red into a softer color, it really gets the seller to pay attention to the things that they need to do.
Got it. You are the master of the art of negotiation, and I can hear it in your discussions right here. You know, one of the things that you've made a great name for yourself across the country, by the way, is the fact that, you know, you're a great negotiator. So let's talk about that. Let's get into that. First, I want to talk about, before you get into the art of the negotiation, I want to figure out how you market that. I mean, what's your approach and how do you present that as part of why people would choose you and your team to get their real estate done?
It depends on how we're approaching it. You know, we have little videos about the strengths of negotiating. It's not really taught in the industry, the art of negotiation. So we have little snippet videos of, you know, questions to ask your realtor. Do they have a strategy for negotiation? Which obviously implies that we do. We don't have to get too deep into that. They just are like, oh, wow, I guess they do know what they're doing if they're willing to talk about negotiation.
Right.
We have, you know, blogs about the importance of negotiation. I do a lot of writing. I think editorial is so important. I think a lot of agents miss the mark with PR. Paid advertising is much less effective than editorial. So, you know, becoming relevant and talking about subjects like negotiation is picked up by the papers and by blogs, and, you know, so I've gotten a lot of press that way. But a lot of it is face to face, because you can get across pretty quickly that you're a good negotiator in a subtle way when you're in front of buyers and sellers. And when you're at a marketing presentation, it's I say, you know, one of my strengths is negotiating, and we often have to get very creative in this market. And creative negotiating is a topic I could talk about for 2 hours with my team. So
That's amazing. So, well, you kind of broke the whole thing down for us, but I mean, the bottom line is, you know, you're gonna go back for your client, but you have some pretty proven approaches and strategies, right, to be able to represent your client and win on most, I'd like to say every deal, but win on most deals. So what are some of those things that, if I'm an agent and I want to get to your level, what are some of the things that I need to really focus in on when it comes to the area of negotiation?
I would say listen and educate yourself on who your opponent, if you want to call it an opponent, who you're negotiating with. I just won a bidding war. There were 4 offers. I took the time to really research the seller. I was representing the buyer. Took the time to really research the seller and really communicate with the agent. Relationships with other agents is so important, and being considered, I don't want to say easy to work with, but you know, friendly. And there's just a lot of agents that are just hard to work with. Like, they're fighting too hard. We're all trying to get to the solution. We're all trying to protect our client. We're not trying to fight about it. We're all trying to do what's best for our client, and we can do that in a very positive way. So this is just an example, but this particular buyer, this particular seller, I mean, was buying a house and wanted to close at a certain day, but was buying the house 2 weeks earlier. So I suggested to my client that we close 2 weeks prior to the date he wanted to move out, and let him occupy the property and just pay taxes and insurance, and that would give him the comfort of having 2 weeks to move, being able to use the money instead of buying the house and then have the 2 weeks to move, and then he's carrying 2 houses for 2 weeks.
Right.
It is what got us the house. We weren't even the highest number, but we were willing to do that. And those kinds of little, and they're not tricks of the trade. They're, you know, educating yourself so that you can best represent your consumer. So negotiation is more about, just like in sports, if you know your competition, and what they are like, you're better, right? You can beat them. But if you know the needs of the people you're trying to win with, then it's all about educating yourself, so that the approach you take, it baffles me when I have a multiple offer situation coming on one of my listings, that the other agent doesn't ask me questions like, does your seller have a preference on closing date? Is there anything that your seller would appreciate? Does he want to leave everything there and we'll dump it for him? Does he want to leave the basement full? Those are things that cost nothing but means so much. So, and negotiating numbers, the same thing. When you're negotiating, uh, for both sides is all I'm saying. That finding out when you're representing a seller and we've got multiple offers, you have to explain that not always the highest is the best, and you explain. And what I like to do, so many people will go to highest and best. We've got multiple offers, we go to highest and best. And you have to explain you don't always want to go to highest and best. I like to work with one, leverage them, pick the one that's the best, work with it, try to get it to where you want it to be. And if you can't, and you're leveraging the other ones, and if you can't, then you move on to the next one. But to go to highest and best often creates animosity, and people don't want to deal with it. And then if they do win, they wonder why they won, and they think they overpaid, and they have buyer's remorse. So there's so many different ways that are not being taught that I cringe when I see people doing the things that are so easy to avoid. Also, if you do go to highest and best, you have to remember that the backup offer is the most important person in the room.
Yes.
The winning offer is extremely happy. They're so pumped that they won, but sometimes they feel, wow, I won. Like I said, wow, I won. Maybe I overpaid. So the agent and the losing buyer is the one you have to spend a lot of time on. We're so grateful for your offer. The other one just, that's when you have to really take good care of the backup offer, because often you have to go there.
And,
So
yeah, and so, the thing about it, and I've talked to so many of my partner agents who have told me that, highest and best is, to your point, is not always, but there's a story, right, between every buyer, about every buyer. There's a situation, there's a story. I love this. Listen, educate yourself, know the other side and all the parties on the other side, not only just the agent, but the buyers or the sellers. Don't be combative. And I love this, is that the highest and best is not always the best, but the backup offer is. That's what I picked up from your points. And I love that. That's a great, quick, really great way to break that down, right?
thanks. Yeah, it works. It's been working for me so far.
There you go. All right, I got to get into this. I can't ignore this anymore. And by the way, we've got some questions coming in, and we'll get to those questions coming up in just a minute here. But so Alan Dalton is the former CEO of Realtor.com, and I found this little snippet, and I'm just going to read it, okay? As the former CEO of Realtor.com, I had the opportunity to assess the various levels of real estate professionalism throughout the entire industry. Equipped with this inside information, and he put that in quote, it's telling that when in need of a realtor representation upon moving to Connecticut, there was only truly one choice, Julie Vanderblue. My family and I happily discovered why so many in the know recommended Julie to us. Her deep knowledge of the various Connecticut communities and their nuances was remarkable. Simply put, there's no substitute for experience, knowledge, and skill. And this is the former CEO of Realtor.com. All right, that's amazing. So tell me about that.
Well, that's a blessing for me, because I met Alan originally it was either an Inman or NAR convention. Um, he was speaking, and I was overwhelmed with, wow, brilliance. He's brilliant, like just brilliant. And I've known him now for 15 years, 12 years or so. And I went up to him and talked to him, and I said, if you have an hour between, and I said, I'm speaking on Teams, in another room, I'd love your opinion. And he came and to watch my speech, and he gave me some, he critiqued me, and he wasn't fluffy. He told me what I did wrong, and if I had thin skin, I probably would have, my back would have bristled, and but I love constructive criticism, and I think that's what he appreciated about me, that I'm a sponge and I love to learn, and I love to learn from others, and that's why I'm so open with sharing ideas, is because I love learning. So I just started working with Alan, and I was he was thinking of coming to Connecticut, and I was able to show, and I almost didn't want him to find a house, because I love driving him around and asking him questions, and we became really good friends. He actually now consults for our company. Ironically, Rick Higgins and he were worked together in New Jersey when back in the day. He started so many. He created marketing platforms for Better Homes and Gardens. He was the president of Murphy Real Estate, and for 30 offices. So he's worn every shoe, which why I think he was so successful at Realtor.com as well. He turned it from being upside down to the #1 real estate website in the world. So, I hear his accolades, and my team actually calls them Alanisms, because a lot of what comes out of my mouth I learned from Alan, and so I'm grateful that he sees me so highly.
So here's another one that I love, and I think this one is incredibly important in the fact that it says, basically points out what we've been talking about in our time together today. So this is a testimonial that I read that said Julie and her team were by far the most helpful and knowledgeable people we've ever worked with. We were moving from California. We had no idea in which town we wanted to move into. Only that I had to commute to New York, and I knew I didn't want to live in New York. I want to live in Connecticut, but I didn't know anything about the place. The detailed town videos they provided, as well as their specialty, helped us narrow it down, and we currently have an accepted offer. I cannot wait to close and moving into beautiful Fairfield County, which, by the way, I knew nothing about until I started searching for a home with Julie. So thank you. So this is exactly what you're talking about, right? Here's a person that's in California, and you're kind of basically being their tour guide on all things New York and Connecticut.
Yeah, and that talks about, like, our team is kind of unique. And if someone's thinking of joining a team or starting a team, there's a lot of different team concepts out there. Most of them, in my opinion, are just businesses within businesses. They're small brokerages within a big brokerage, and it's just all about splits. With our team, it's truly a synergistic team, because if you're truly consumer centric and educating the consumer, how can I educate a consumer on a town I don't really know? And you hear all the time agents, oh, I'll go anywhere. I hear it so much, I'll go anywhere. And I was like, well, that's great, but are you truly able to educate the consumer if you don't understand that town? And
right.
Our team we have agents from Greenwich, Stamford, McCain, Norwalk, Westport, Fairfield, Bridge. So I know when we do relocation and someone's coming into town, they start with me. I assess what they want to do. I'll show them certain areas, and then I'll say, so they don't have to bop around to other agents to really get a full education. But they also are not being educated by one agent who doesn't understand the nuances of there are nuances of neighborhoods, no less towns. So it's really important, I think, again, when it comes to community and to the points that you just made with the testimonial, is putting the client ahead of your own financial gain. And that is not common, unfortunately, in this industry. I think it's hopefully changing, but it's we don't make money until a house sells, and we do a lot of work. So I can see why you're tempted to take clients out that you really should be sharing at least, or partnering up with someone. And in our team, we don't even have to share the client. We're just going to tap into the knowledge of our team, because we're all working together. And again, the word synergistic is the word of the day for us, because it's not about what's in it for me. The people that I've let go from this team, one was my top producing agent I've ever had, and I let her go because she was a what's in it for me person. And it just, one person like that can spoil the entire feeling of a team. And once trust is lost, everything changes. So really working with people that you trust, and so that you can, again, bring the best to your client. Because this is, all we have is our reputation. And really, I mean, as much as I love money to me, it's green paper. And I don't love money, but as much as I love the things that money buys, it's it's very, very low on the totem pole of importance. And it will come when you're doing the right things, and when it's about the relationships versus the transactions. And sharing the wealth versus keeping it all for yourself is really what I think has made us rise to the top so quickly.
There's a quote, and I can't remember it exactly word for word, but my one of the guys that I first got into business many, many years ago taught me. It was something to the fact, if you chase the money, you'll be poor, but if you chase the relationship, the rewards will be found. There's something along that. I can't remember the exact quote, but that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
What you're chasing is you're chasing the ability to be able to be substantive in this career.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Yep. All right, we got a ton of questions coming in here, so I'm going to start with one from Denver, Colorado. I'm an agent with a classic marketing problem. I need to up my visibility to improve sales, but in order to get more business, I have to spend more money. Boy, that's a classic. So what do you suggest I should be spending my money on?
Okay. I think if you have, so there's a lot of different ways. As far as how you spend your money, the biggest success target marketing we have is honestly Facebook boosting and social media. It's important to diversify, but it depends on if you have a lot of listings. Like, you won't see me on a billboard. I won't spend my money on self-promotion that way. The self-promotion, but you have to brand. So there's which way do you go. So every dollar we spend has to do with our sellers. So we're promoting an event, let's say. So we're getting the promotion, but we're promoting an event for the Greenfield Hill Tour, which is all about the properties. So in my opinion, if you're spending money, you need to be spending it on promoting your properties so that your money is well spent, but you also have to do it in diverse ways. I mean, we do everything, so mailers is important, even though I still go like this when I think of mailers because I just see people throwing them out. But consistency, if you think you're going to do a mailer and you're going to get any response because you sent 3, it has to be, you have to just have a strategic approach no matter what it is, and then follow through with it. So we do something called with homesin.com right now. Homesin is a platform all about the community. I think community, if you really want to spend money, spend it community, in community relationships. So pick your town, and HomeZin is a fabulous platform. And the reason I love this platform is because if you post something on HomeZin and then boost it, it's coming from something else. It's not coming from me. So if I'm posting, wow, we're the best, or look at this property, it's another realtor talking about how great their properties are. If Homes boosts it, and you can really target, it's amazing. I highly recommend that you find a social media guru and really learn about it, because you can target now that compared to when I got into this industry, it's amazing. You can spend $20 and really target an area on anything from an open house. You should have a serious budget, and I would highly recommend social media to start with. I would recommend, if you're marketing, especially in the community. I'm the chamber. I'm on the board. I have more time on my hands. I have no time on my hands, but I'm on the board of the Chamber of Commerce in my town. Like, the last thing I want to do is get up at 6 o'clock and go to a chamber meeting. But
Right.
it's really important to do those things. And then when you're at an event and you can promote that event. So promoting events and not just properties, promoting that you're engaged in the community. We have something called Neighborhood Network, where we take, as I was saying, take little videos of the businesses, We want to support our businesses. But remember, these business owners have lives, have families, need to move. So people tend to support those that support them. So we create relationships. And so the marketing part of it, I believe, is starting from not just your listings and your buyers, but really promoting that you're supporting the community that you sell.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of ways to do that too, with print advertising in the newspaper. A lot of people don't believe in print, and I don't love it. But when you're branding, it's an important part of letting the people see you. But you have to be consistent. And
I really struggle with newspaper because it just. But there's a lot of agents that I talk to that say we're still doing it. We're probably not getting much of a return on our investment on it, but we are getting a return, right? So
Yeah.
you got to look at the ROI there.
Yeah, it's low on the totem pole, but at the same time, if you're branding in the same place, and we don't pay for our own advertising anyway, we get our partners to do it. So we might have we had a Greenfield Hill tour this past we had the Dogwood Festival, so we had a full page ad in the paper, and I had all the local businesses pay $100 each or a couple $100 each and we gave out information at our open houses. We had them highlighted in the ad. It supported that we believed in this in Greenfield Hill and in the town. To them, $200 was nothing, and they got tremendous exposure. Right. So I wouldn't suggest paying $500 a month for a print ad, but if you can get creative, then those people really appreciate it, and it shows to the public that you're creative, and it's not just another real estate ad. I mean, people are getting sick of those full pages with 12 houses in them. So you got to, and also providing relevant information in whatever you do. Whatever message you want to get across should be relevant, fun, or educational. Well, relevance and educational is similar, but you know the difference.
Yeah.
So it's being careful with the message that you're sending, and then choosing. I mean, I could talk for a couple hours about different strategies, but I would say really choose the strategy that you're going to approach, and don't deviate. And don't be, I can get into this, oh, let's try this, let's try this, let's do this, let's do this, but you're going to get nowhere. So just stay focused.
So one of the things that's really important to note is that if you're gonna invest your money wisely, everybody thought, well, we should do email, it's free, just keep doing email. Well, email's gotten to the point where you can't beat the spam, you can't beat emails become almost ineffective now, right? So you have to do things like the mailers, even though a large portion of them get thrown away, a large portion of them get some effectiveness. Handwritten notes, those are highly effective. I believe that if you don't have a social media presence, you don't exist. So you have some approaches with social media, and we've got questions in the box. You mentioned Facebook Live. I think this is a great approach. So what is your Facebook Live approach? How do you use it? When do you use it? What do you say when you do it?
We use it. I'm teaching my team to use it more. Nobody likes to be in front of the camera, or you're always worried about what you're looking like, and it's but nobody cares really. So it's we do everything from when I do an open house. Hey guys, and very always light. Hey guys, I'm here today. Just want to give you a sneak peek of the property before you come to see it, and I'll show them some of the highlights, and I'll say, oh, you can't see the rest until you get here. Can't wait to see ya. So. Making it a little more fun. We do live video at a community event to do the lifestyle. Hey, everybody, it's being out there and showing that you're not just, it's also embracing your own personality and showing people who you are, because people like to work with people that they like. That's like the number one thing. People work with people they like and they trust, and then they go to knowledge and skill. They first go to people that they're attracted to or they have something in common with. So everybody should be doing live video, and it is. And you mentioned the handwritten notes. Just as an aside, if you're not writing 3 handwritten notes a day, start today, because it's really crazy when you think about When's the last time you got a handwritten note? And when you did, how did you feel?
It went to the right, to the top, right? You saw it and you grab it and you open it immediately.
It's the only thing I open. I let my husband open everything else. so it's really and you feel good. And it
Yeah.
could be from thanks. So we, after every single open house, and people think I'm crazy on this, we send a handwritten note with a picture of the house that they went to on the card that just says thanks for coming. We always write a little something on the back of their sign-in sheet about them. Oh, I hope Bobby had fun at the soccer game. So it's a personal note, and I can't tell you how effective that has been. And it can be anything. When you go to dinner, write a little note to the restaurateur and say, hey, just wanted to say how much I enjoyed our meal.
Yep.
And you don't put I don't put my card in every single one. Sometimes I will after the open house because they obviously need to get in touch with me, but for the most part, it can't feel like a sales pitch. So just on a side note, when I heard handwritten notes, it's such a big part of what we do.
I'm glad you brought that up because, we always talk about all these innovative ways to do marketing, right? We always talk about, we have to do all this, technology stuff. I love that approach, because if you talk to somebody in an open house and Jimmy's got to go to a soccer game, so mommy's got to take him and go, and you write a handwritten note, hope Jimmy had a great soccer game, they know that you connected, right? And then I just used to write my name and a phone number right below it and, put the thing and put a stamp on it. Don't run it through the postage machine. Put a stamp on it and address it. Julie, this is one of the greatest things ever, and it may be old school as hell, but I don't care. It works.
Yep. And open houses is another. Open houses is our retail store. We're inviting people into our store, and I urge any agent to take a Sunday and go to open houses and learn what not to do, because the majority of agents do not do an open house effectively. If anything, they turn people off. And we have an approach that I have a lot of agents and a lot of mouths to feed, and they can feed themselves if they're doing open houses appropriately. And a lot of people are represented. So it's not like you're getting all these new buyers every time you do it. But if the first thing you ask when someone walks into the door is to sign in or to, are you represented? Then you should get out of the industry, or at least learn
I agree.
how to do it right. Because you shouldn't ask, I don't ask them to sign. When they come in, I say, thank you so much for coming. I tell them a few things about the house. Before you get started, I want to prove to them that I have knowledge, that a few things that won't be obvious before you go on your tour. Make sure you go to the basement because it's got really high ceilings and it's easily finished. The third floor is finished, so don't miss that. And the the backyard has plenty of room for a pool. These are the three things that they might ask.
Right.
And then you're still walking with them, but if someone comes in, you've already earned credibility that you're not just going to follow them around and point out the Bosch dishwasher and the Viking stove. So then before I say, listen, I'll walk around with you, make yourselves at home, but before you go, I really need for you, I really need you, I'd really love for you to sign in. It's important to me, and I'd love to get a little feedback before you go, so it's important that we have a quick chat before you go. They've made a commitment to me before they walk through the house. And then the whole strategy of getting them to sign in, honestly, that could be a webinar in itself, but it's so important to just earn their trust right away instead of making it about you. And it's rare. Go to an open house and you'll see what I mean.
That's right. And before we wrap up here, Julie, we're pushing the time envelope because you and I could keep talking for another couple hours. I really think that. But my job on the open houses, what I used to do, my job was I had to go by the grocery store and buy those little rolls of cookie dough, and I had to cut them up and put them in the oven of the house so people would smell cookies when they walked in the door, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. All those and little goodie bags or we have these little coloring books that we give to the kids that say draw my dream home, so they have something to go home with. We used to give balloons, but it became a lot, you never know with like anyway, but we do coloring books now. So a lot of little things at the open house.
Right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of our time frame, and we have a ton of questions. So we'll get you the answers to these questions. We promise. We're gonna have a conversation offline via email, I'm sure, on some of these questions because I know you want to get so much more of this information. But if you go to her website, look at her website. It's very well done. It's very consumer friendly. I want to again have you look at the espdivision.com and just kind of check out those things. And thanks so much. Thanks to the Higgins Group and your team for letting us have you for this time. I'm so excited about what you taught us today. You're right. You and I could spend another couple hours talking, but thank you so much, Julie.
Oh, it's been an honor and a privilege to be here. I'm really grateful for the time, and thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. Thanks for joining, everybody. On behalf of Julie, I'm Dave Lopshire for the Guaranteed Rate Companies. Thanks for joining, everybody. Have a great day.